Strange Magic, written by Suzana Thompson, narrated by Sarah Sampino. Chapter 4. I woke up early on Saturday, having slept straight through after school the day before. I was finally hungry, so I decided to make pancakes. My stomach rumbled while I cooked them. I was finishing a second helping when Mom and Dad walked into the kitchen. "Hey, sleepyhead," Dad said. "Those 3 days of school really wore you out, huh?" Mom beamed at me. "I'm so glad that you're feeling better. I tried to wake you for dinner, but you were dead to the world. I was planning to take you to the doctor today." This was what I had been afraid of yesterday. I smiled back at them. "I guess I just needed some extra sleep. Better help yourself to some pancakes before I eat them all." After breakfast, the three of us did housework. Caitlin called after lunch. She came over just as my parents were getting ready to go to a movie. It was perfect timing, since we would now be able to talk in private. "Alone at last," Caitlin joked. We both laughed. "Do you want something to drink?" "No," Caitlin said. "I want to hear about these secrets you've been keeping from me." I hesitated. "First, how was your date with Alex?" "He enjoyed my clean mouth," Caitlin said without missing a beat. "We'll get back to that later. Quit stalling. I can't wait another minute to hear about you and Duncan." "Okay," I said. "Okay, you already know about the dream. It gets more bizarre from there." I told her about what had happened the day I went home sick. Once I began talking, the words just poured out of me. Caitlin listened in rapt attention. When I got to the part about Duncan and I being able to communicate with our thoughts, she couldn't contain herself any longer. "Oh my God! What did I tell you? What more proof do you need that you guys are soulmates?" I was amazed. "You're taking this a lot better than I did, and way better than Duncan did." I filled her in on the rest of the story. Duncan was less than thrilled about our special connection. In fact, he was downright hostile about it. "This can only mean one thing," Caitlin said. "He's been hurt by another girl who has this ability. That boy is seriously bitter. That's why he's trying to push you away." I was surprised by how jealous I was at the thought of another girl sharing this bond with Duncan. "Do you really think that's possible?" Caitlin gave me a funny look. "Anything is possible. You should know that better than anyone." That would explain his attitude. She must have broken his heart. "You've got to win his trust," Caitlin said. "Yeah, right. That's not going to happen. His mind is made up. We'll convince him." "What do you mean, we?" "Caitlin," I said sternly. "Stay out of it." "Okay," Caitlin said. "We'll see." She had been so great about believing my crazy story that I didn't want to argue with her. I changed the subject to her date with Alex, and this time she let me. The movie had been okay. The kissing afterwards had been great, and they were going out to dinner this evening. Caitlin left shortly after my parents arrived home. She and Alex seemed to have really hit it off, and I was happy for her. After dinner, I decided to go for a walk. Since I had been sick, I had missed being outside. It felt good to be out in the fresh air again. A gentle breeze made the weather perfect. Many people were enjoying the park. I felt much better now that I had told Caitlin everything. I wasn't alone in this anymore. Caitlin's idea about the other girl made sense. It wasn't fair that Duncan was taking it out on me, but there was nothing I could do about it. The best thing for me would be to try to avoid him as much as possible and move on with my life. Caitlin was wrong. We weren't soulmates. If she was right about the other girl, even our connection wasn't unique. He had already experienced it with someone else. On top of that, even without his irrational hostility toward me, there was no way I could compete against Mandy. I resolved to have a brand new attitude on Monday. Duncan wasn't even going to be on my radar. A little girl approached me and asked me to play tag with her. "Lily," her mother admonished her from a nearby bench where she was feeding a baby. "Leave that girl alone." "I don't mind," I winked at the mother. "I was just hoping that somebody would play tag with me." We ran around and giggled. I pretended that I couldn't run fast enough to get away from her. Her delight was infectious. "You're it!" We zigzagged as I kept just barely missing her. "You can't catch me," she taunted with little kid glee. "Oh, you're too fast," I said, as I made a show of stopping to catch my breath. As I looked up, I noticed Duncan in the background. He was watching me. I just barely caught the smile on his face before it quickly disappeared. "Come on, let's play." The little girl was tugging on my arm. "It's time to go home now, Lily," her mother called as she was putting the baby into the stroller. "No," Lily wailed. "I want to play more tag." "Next time," I soothed. "Whew, you wore me out." Lily's mother had to come and take her by the hand. "Let's go. You can help me push the stroller." She smiled at me. "Thanks. Hopefully she'll be too tired to put up a fuss at bedtime tonight." Duncan wandered over as they left. "You've made a quick recovery." "I went to sleep as soon as you left, and I didn't get up until this morning. Then I ate 2 breakfasts." The smile I had glimpsed earlier ghosted over Duncan's lips again. "I'm glad you're feeling better." "Thanks," I said. "And thanks again for helping me yesterday. May I ask you a question?" Duncan was immediately wary. "What is it?" I hated to broach the subject, but it was gnawing at me. "You said that I called you." "You did," Duncan said. "And that's not a question." "Where were you when it happened? Don't we have to be close by to hear each other?"
"As if you didn't know," Duncan said. "Okay, I'll humor you. Our ears have nothing to do with it. We connect telepathically. Hypothetically, we could be anywhere."
This was a lot to take in. "You mean we could even hear each other if we were in different cities?" Duncan got a faraway look on his face.
"Hypothetically."
"Wow," I said. "Then why don't we hear each other all the time?" Duncan rolled his eyes.
"As you well know, there are mental barriers. When both people are open to it, the barriers are withdrawn. In times of heightened emotions, some thoughts seep out, so to speak. Also, if one is very powerful, the barriers are more easily breached. Even then, reading someone's thoughts all the time would be exhausting."
"Don't look at me like that," I said. "I wasn't tired from reading your thoughts. I can't even control when it happens. I never knew that such a thing was possible until I met you."
"Oh, please," he said. "Do you really expect me to believe that you just spontaneously manifested an ability that takes years to hone? That you got past the barriers in my mind without even trying?"
"Whether you believe it or not, it's true. You apparently got past the barriers in my mind, too," I challenged.
"No," he said. "I didn't. Yours are airtight. You must be very powerful. I can't even get a glimpse of your real thoughts."
"These are my real thoughts," I said in exasperation. "My life was completely ordinary until I had that dream about you."
"What dream?"
"Never mind," I said. "I have to get home." I tried not to think about it, but it came unbidden into my mind in vivid detail. That wild kiss with the dream Duncan. I began to walk away quickly. I wasn't sure how this worked. Could he only hear my thoughts, or might he also be able to see the images in my mind? He'd pretty much said that he'd had years of practice at this. Duncan followed me. He grabbed me and spun me around, his eyes searching mine.
"Are these your real thoughts?"
He asked softly.
"Are they, Suzana?"
My breathing became labored. His lips hovered just above mine, tantalizingly close. His pale eyes had darkened slightly. He was going to kiss me, and an almost unbearable excitement coursed through me.
"I won't be fooled again,"
Duncan said. Then he walked away.